Back again with the weekly What's What for you, my friends in internet land. I'm probably talking to myself once again, or a future version of family and or friends that might at some point want to look back and see what I did on this week. Still trying to get BrentoCast propagated out to iTunes. Kind of have it half working in that it is coming into my iTunes library, but there's still some issues with the Cool Podcast plugin. I created the second podcast on my server, and for some reason, when I try to go into the individual podcast to edit it, it shows that it doesn't exist, even though in an overview it shows that it does exist, and in my iTunes it exists. So it's a little bit weird, but it's just a matter of time till I get into that and dig into it and kind of figure it out to a better degree. And hopefully everything will be groove-tastic once that happens. This is my third take, by the way, on episode 7. Earlier in the week, I tried to do it with my son up here, and he's going through a bit of a rebellious streak, wanting to move his desk over into my studio area and just doing all kinds of things that are just disrupting me. And I was making the comment to my wife how you can go in and have a great game plan, and just one little thing can totally derail your mind. And then it's hard to get back to that creative space. This happened to me on the V Hill Brothers project, and it took me like a day or two to just kind of pull back from it and realize that changes that they were asking for weren't that crazy. At first, I was a little confused because of the extreme positive feedback that I got to the work tapes. But in any case, we're going to be working on that again tonight at Snug Records, starting at 4. And hopefully buttoning up all the prep that we can do before those guys arrive on the 29th, the 30th, and 31st for our sessions with the V Hill Brothers to produce their album. Harrison and I have been putting a lot of work on that. In particular, Harrison has been putting a lot of work on that. He does the heavy lifting with regards to actually playing the instruments. I try to sort of focus on the production end, but he, of course, helps with production as well. So yeah, just lots of noise, lots of things, actual noise to affect the recording, but also like noise in my life that have made this week not be as easy to get that podcast done on Monday. Had a really big day Monday. Actually had a new client that wanted a 2-hour massage, which I haven't done one of those since since my actual training in massage school. So yeah, it worked out great, but just kind of put me in a different mindset where the whole day just was taken up with work, which is the way it's supposed to be. But I mean, typically there's some time that I have on Monday mornings, and that's usually when I slip up here and do the BrentoCast. But I digress. So just a quick recap on the week. Thursday was my first day with Delilah for the week. The weather started to get a little nicer, so we did get out to the park, and we had 2 days of about 86-degree weather, and then it got even cooler, and we ended up on, Thursday, then Friday, I went and sang karaoke, had a lot of fun with that at Loafers and Legends, and I just about blew out my voice by jumping on a high-end song called Traveling Band by CCR. And then that went over really well with the crowd, and I guess they expected another danceable song because people got up and danced and actually clapped a lot for that. And then my follow-up song, which was like half an hour later, was What Do You Listen To by Chris Stapleton, which I can sing and play that song. But in the case of that, where I'm singing right to the record, my low end wasn't there because I hadn't warmed up when I, belted out Traveling Band. But anyway, it was fun. And then Saturday, we had Delilah once again. I took her to some more parks to play. We did our evening thing. I think Nancy took her to Pepero, and then we just went home and watched TV and crashed out. And then Sunday morning, we went to Baden Coffee as per usual. We actually had our breakfast this time, took it down there, and ran into the people that had ran the night before a Movies on the Green, also the folks that run the karaoke at Loafers and Legends. So Saturday night was Movies on the Green in Baden, and they showed Grease. So that was a bit of a tribute to the late, great this is so funny. This is so crazy. Olivia Newton-John. I've been thinking about the whole thing of her passing so much, and then we have this craziness with actress Anne Heche passing away from really, I'm going to say it was a drug-induced suicide. I don't know exactly. Olivia Newton-John passing away at 72 or 73 or whatever after a long bout with cancer, in which she, largely won for a long time, and all the positivity that she sort of imparted to people and everything she stood for, she was a real, in my estimation, a great example of what a celebrity should be. And then I contrast that with Anne Heche, who, I didn't really see her as anything really but, an actress that was pretty good and pretty accomplished and had a lot of success. As far as her activism, it was not anything that I thought, that spoke to me. I know it did speak to a lot of other people, but I would just say at 53 years old to leave the way she did, that's very, very tragic. And of course, one can't help but be moved by the fact that, she's got two sons that lost their mom at 53. And, I think about how it affected Elvis, his mother passing away at 47. Now, they say he never got over that, so they say it was never the same after it. That's just very, very sad, and I read some of the things they write about her, calling her like a freedom fighter and an activist and all this, and I'm like, really, to me, having heard a little bit about her childhood, just a little bit in podcasts, she has a podcast that's available. She apparently had a really hard time of growing up, and her father was like one of the first people to die from AIDS and stuff back when it was really, really stigmatized. And she talked about how that affected her and the fact that her siblings are all dead, and her brother actually, in her words, committed suicide by car. He died in a car accident. She said it was suicide, and here she turns around and does essentially the same thing. I'm really thankful that the person that was in the house that she decided to ram her car into was not killed or injured badly. And it's just sad, man. The whole thing is sad. And I kind of got caught up on that on my last take of this podcast, and I'm not going to do that today. I'll just say that, the God that I believe in, the God that I serve, has grace for everyone, and I hope that she has some grace, and I hope she's in a better place right now. Again, just you hate to see that happen to anyone, let alone someone that seemed to have so much. I mean, I did kind of like go back in time on Google and sort of look at, a young Olivia Newton-John. I know for a fact that most guys looked at her and went, that is the perfect girlfriend. I mean, she's beautiful and articulate and talented and sweet. Anne Heche looked pretty much the same. I mean, like you look at the two of them when they were 19 years old, they looked very, very similar. Anne favored short hair. That was sort of, the difference in their look. But I mean, they looked, kind of like that prototypical blonde-haired, blue eyes. I'm not sure if Olivia had blue eyes or not. I just remember her being really pretty. Didn't follow her music career that much, but appreciated her, of course, for Grease and just the various things that she acted in, and was certainly aware of her hits. Anne Heche, the Harrison Ford movie, I guess, and a few other things she was in. Wag the Dog, I thought was a great film. I remember in that. And she, she really held up looks-wise into her 50s, but one would think that, she had everything that would make a person happy. I know for sure she made $10 million in 1 year, probably more. And she sold several multi-million-dollar realty deals, like with her houses and stuff. So she clearly had money. But friends, money won't do it. Money, fame, and, being skinny and blonde and white and blue-eyed won't make a person happy. You know what I mean? When if you listen to certain folks, that's all that it takes, So, I don't know. I saw her, one of her last interviews on the Adam Carolla podcast, and she seemed like she was under the influence of something. Not super obvious, but she talked very fast, and she seemed very manic, and Adam being that slow rolling talker like he is, he just kind of keeps going. She talked over him a whole lot, and I just thought, something's a little off here. Of course, with hindsight's 20/20, it's a shame she couldn't get the help that she needed, and chose to turn to fentanyl and cocaine. I really don't know how many celebrities are going to have to die before they stop messing with fentanyl, because you don't know what you're getting. You do not know what you're getting when you buy that illicitly. After, Michael Jackson passing away the way he did from fentanyl abuse, and Prince then makes the same mistake. I mean, for real? Like, that's crazy. I mean, what do these people think, that it can't happen to them? I don't know. But, I just pray that for God's grace and all that, and peace to come to the families that are left behind, because it's sad. Wow, we've used up way more time on that than I wanted to. Moving right along. So this week, like I said, we're back in the studio with the V-Hill project. We're prepping. I did kind of sort of halfway audition one drummer. We've put an ad out on Band Mix, and we're trying to get like a drummer and a bass player, so Harrison and I can kind of go back to that 2-guitar electric band. We're still focused on our acoustic thing, but we know we want to get back to the electric music sometimes, just for fun. And we found a couple guys, 3 or 4 guys responded to my ad within like a 30-minute range of Albemarle. Of course, I don't want to drive to Statesville or whatever, for example, to practice. I want to do that here. And I think we have some options. So we were supposed to rehearse audition the other guy Sunday, but unfortunately Harrison fell ill, and so we didn't get to do that. And hopefully we'll get to do that this Sunday. But I tell you what I have been able to do, and that is rip movies like the bejeebies. I have been pulling VHS through my my Clear Click device and pulling it over onto digital and putting it on my secret cloud storage, so I have it backed up, and I'm just getting into all kinds of cool stuff that I've never seen. For example, right at this moment, I am pulling a movie called Transmutations. All Mutants Are Not Created Equal. There's the cool box cover. Looks like a monster mashup with traditional old school effects. I pulled Warlock the Armageddon earlier. Really cool movie. And I'm actually watching some of these, and it's really cool having the VHS version, because I can pull that on my TV at night, and it's like you get the grain, you get the old school 80s and 90s previews and stuff, and I'll just watch that at home, and it's just a lot of fun. When I have my quiet time at night, which is not every night, but some nights I'll get home, and Nancy's super into like Korean dramas right now, and that ain't my scene. So I let her sort of watch that in her unwinding time, and I'm on a different TV downstairs, and I watch my old school movies. I watched Runaway with Tom Selleck and Gene Simmons the other night. Last night I watched the first probably 20-30 minutes of Event Horizon, one of my favorite horror movies, probably the scariest sci-fi movie, possibly neck and neck with, say, Aliens, maybe a little scarier than Aliens. I have my issues with the film, but by and large it's very, very good. So watching that and making plans for future episodes of the VHS Graveyard. We've only recorded one of those to date, but I have plans and the movies up on the share. So whenever time permits, it may not be this weekend, but hopefully soon we'll be moving on to number 2, which is going to be In the Mouth of Madness. And ultimately, I'd like to get the whole John Carpenter unofficial trilogy, Apocalypse trilogy, which of course is The Thing, Prince of Darkness, and The Mouth of Madness. But that being said, I have watched little else apart from these. There's been some pretty major developments in the Daz Studio hobby this week. Can't say too much about what I've been able to see as a Daz published artist. I get things in advance in some cases and new figures and whatnot, but I don't think we're supposed to talk about that publicly, so I'm not going to, other than say it's exciting. And then, unfortunately, a couple of my products that I'd worked on in support of a figure that was going to be released, basically it was part of a bundle that was planned, and the figure didn't pass. They required changes. They ended up dissolving the bundle, which also dissolved my product. So now I have to re-upload that at some point. Instead of trying to rush to meet any kind of release with that figure, I'm just going to take my time and wait for another bundle to come along. Obviously means very little if you're not into that whole hobby. I actually came in and recorded my second take on this podcast at 5:30 this morning, and right in the middle of it, the garbage truck comes around, and it's banging so loudly, I think somebody's trying to break into the building, so I had to stop in the middle of it, which is what prompted me to actually redo this one. The first one was just a terrible take. Liam was up here and being noisy, so I just felt like it wasn't good enough. And these podcasts, I don't know how long I'm going to carry on BrentoCast. I mean, obviously, just as long as I have things to say, but really, this is doubled effort in so much as if you really want to see what I did for the week. I mean, again, probably every week I produced 20 to 30 minutes of edited video which you can always see on the front page of BrentBowers.com on my vlog page, which is the first one that loads. It's going to always be stuff that I've done with Delilah, so that, in retrospect, if she ever wants to look back at her childhood memories, she'll be able to do it in sequence, because that's how I edit it, that's how I put it up. And this is just a little addendum to that, to share my thoughts on things and, how the week went from my perspective. Nancy and I are going to be involved in a training class to get our personal trainer certification. I think it's called the ACE Personal Trainer Training, if you will. And it's through the local community college, but they're actually giving the class at the YMCA. So that'll be Monday nights, 3 hours a night, Monday nights, and then later on it'll be Monday and Wednesday. So I'm looking forward to that, because my goal is to be able to help my clients. And lots of times, they'll come in with stuff that I'm able to address through sports massage and whatnot, but they'll ask me, what can I do to make this not happen, and how can I improve this or that? And I think training just really is a nice little add-on to that, and also it helps me with specific training stuff that's going to help someone like my age and older get in shape, because your body doesn't respond the same way, obviously, the older you get. So Nancy and I will be doing that for 2 months. And then while I was, getting everything set up at Stanley, I actually got to go out to Stanley Community College today and pick up $160 worth of textbooks. So that should tell you how serious the class is. In January, I think I'm going to start taking an actual Spanish course over there. They have 2 modules of Spanish, so that's 2 semesters that I could potentially take an in-class. And, given my history with being a linguist in the military, I think I probably would do pretty good with that. And there's just so much opportunity to use Spanish here that I would really like to know it, It can't be as hard. I know it's not as hard. For a little bit I have tried. It's not as hard as Korean, which I did okay with that when I was in school for it. Of course, I've lost it all now, having lived in Japan and had to use Japan in a practical way, Japanese language in a practical way when I was in Japan. But actually, one of my Korean clients came in yesterday, and I said, hello to her in Korean. That's the first time I spoke Korean probably, and I don't know, since the last time she came in, which was probably a year ago. So need to kind of get back into my language thing, and I enjoy learning languages, and I think Spanish is one that's really close to English in a lot of ways. They say every English speaker knows like 2,000 or 3,000 Spanish words. They just don't realize it. It's a difference in the pronunciation. Anything with ION, we say passion, they say passion. We say like traction, it's traction, so a lot of stuff already inherently because of the common parent language, of Latin, of course. But yeah, it'd be really interesting, and I'm really going to try to follow through with that once I get this trainer certification training done. And I don't know if I'll go to actually get certified or not. I might, if it's not too much more trouble, go take the test and whatnot. But yeah, this prepares you for the test and gives you all the information you need to have. And I think really just having the information, as they say on the Saturday morning cartoons, knowing is half the battle. Is that the G.I. Joe slogan? I don't know. But yeah, further plans for this week. I'm going to start practicing. The band is going to be back. Well, the 2-man at least, and potentially Tony will be joining us, or maybe even Jim on Cajon if Tony can't make it. We'll be back at Loafers and Legends October the 1st. Then we'll be back at Loafers and Legends yet again December the 3rd, and that's going to be our Christmas program, which we got to get busy on to have enough songs to do for that Christmas program. But I hope to have that to a point where we can actually record it and make a little maybe even a little release of it. And then we're still working on 5x5, that album, so lots to do. But that's it for this week. I always like to keep these to about 20 minutes, and we're getting up on that. So I just like to wish everyone a happy week. Stay safe, stay humble, stay grateful.